where you're either so far ahead or you're just stuck in the middle where well, no man's land, kind of like Albon is in Formula 1 at the moment, where you're just in the middle of nowhere. Back, meanwhile, he's still got a few cars starting to battle together. One car, that's Vettel in the pit. Now he's going, that's for damage. That is for a scheduled stop to try and get some clean air later on. So he's taking what Ethan said, get some clean air, take some fuel on, just so he can make sure he can go to the end of this race. And that is good strategy then from those two. While talking about his teammate, 2 tenths between the top two yet again, Jez, and it looks like to me, Jazzman just about has the pace on Ethan so far.
Jazzman setting the fastest lap so far, a lap ago, 2 minute 5.9 for him, between him and Ethan, and then Tinnis is 2 minute 6.4, and then everybody else down from, I think, from 6th downwards up to about 13th. They're, I think, are level than the 1/6. They're between the 2 8s and the 2 10s, and then we got Esther and Vetro 211. Well, we got Esther with 211s, and I think Vetro did a 208. I can't remember. Earlier on, obviously Vetro was a 229, but he had to pit for a scheduled stop, so that's why his lap time was there as well. So Overtaker, though, he is matching up with the pace with the big boys, 2 minute 6s, which is pretty good. He's not that far behind Londorf, actually, and we got Chicano, Friend, Davey, Vetro. They're all trying to get some battles in pretty soon. I wonder if the undercut for Vetro is going to work.
Slicker off, and that was always going to happen as everyone got himself out of the way. They all have good driving from every single driver there. Somehow, no one coming to Connor. So what's happened there? Slicker's going to touch the wall. That's down towards Skyline, towards the S's. That's just flick spin the car around. And the question is, has he got himself back going again? He's trying. He's got the car going now. Must be careful. Vetra's going to be coming up pretty quickly. And Vetra's probably be going, oh, well, I've been having some nice clean air. I'm going to get some nice lap time. He's going to come down here. He's just going to see a Ferrari just sitting there. He's going to go, oh, never mind. Well, I thought I was going to get some clean air for a while. Now I've got a car in front of me again. That is exactly why Vector has come in the pit lane, so he did not get caught up in a mistake or something like that. And that is going to really help him in this long run. I believe Slicker might have some damage from that. I reckon he might. Let's see anyone's going to come in the pit lane. Nope. Potentially, no one does, so everyone's staying out. Chicano so far 8th, 9th, Friend, the other Ferrari. Then we got Esser in 10th now, ahead of Davey Zout, so he's got past him recently. We got Slicker right down the back, the man who is always pushing that car to its absolute limit. Now, has he got damage from that? Is he going to come in the pit? No, he's... Yes, he is. Very late decision to come in the pit lane. Besides, he wants to get a new fresh set of damage as he murders some combs. Those combs might sue him later on if they're not too careful. Poor combs. And out comes the mechanic. Meanwhile, up front, Ethan, Jazzman, those two still running away with it. Now 1.7 seconds ahead of the car behind that there of Dennis's teammate. Again, Ethan very close to that wall. Wants to be careful, doesn't take the rear ring off. You'll remember what Jan Rosberg did a couple of seasons ago, season 13, hitting that wall, lost the rear wing. He was about half a minute ahead, lost the rear wing. That gave Jazzman the win. Jazzman, second position, chasing down another Porsche. And remember, that last race, season 13, was also a Porsche losing its rear wing. We know how easy it is. Ethan just wants to be careful, just wants to make sure no mistakes. Nothing can go wrong for him. He's leading this race. I don't want to curse him, but maybe could this be a blessing in disguise, him just having a car behind him? Is it going to maybe just want to make Ethan be a little bit more cautious, try and make Jazzman push himself too hard and crash instead? Meanwhile, looking down the field, already got a few gaps starting to form between the drivers. And then we got this huge gaggle of cars. That is Londorf, and that's Londorf in trouble, Jazz.
Yeah.
And that's damage. That in the front right, it looks like it's crumpled there. Let's see. Front right damage. Yep, it has spinning the wall down the front right. So he's gone and tapped the wall. It's obviously down the S's as well. Then easy to do. Second driver to make a mistake. However, he's got himself back up to speed. We'll see if he comes in the pit lane. And this is already starting to play out for Vetro, might we say.
Yeah, I think Vetro could gain a few more positions before people actually go into the pits, which will say thank you very much there. I think Vetro can benefit from some of these guys making a mistake. Vetro definitely did the right thing there as well. And I'll be worried if I was Pren at the moment, because Pren is in the middle of this cheeky battling as well. And obviously we got Esser and Londorf. Don't forget, Londorf was leading a bit of the race last week. He was doing well. And suddenly he's starting to struggle a bit more in Bathurst, maybe due to the track temperatures being a little bit hotter than Daytona. And
a lot.
Way hotter, actually. Maybe that's why. So I think, again, him doing the right thing, pitting now, he can concentrate on going to the end of this race on those set of tyres and fuel. And he should be absolutely fine with that. Rotary is still 7 tenths. He's increasing the gap just a little bit on Jazzman. They're starting to match evenly on lap times at the moment. One lap, Ethan was faster. The other lap, which is this lap, or a lap ago, Jazzman was faster. So, you know, those why the two are the best in this circuit so far, not making too many mistakes. And Tinnis is going to hope that one of these two make a mistake so he can breeze past and go into the lead. But, you know, I think that's why Tinnis is saving a bit of fuel, saving a bit of tyres at the moment. He's doing the right thing so he can push when he needs to, which is fair enough. And I think that's what Tinnis is good at, pushing only when he needs to.
Yeah, top three really running away with this just so far. We continue having a look. Meanwhile, back to this battle going on. We got Essa now starting to drop a little bit away now from there. Now that's Fred. Now he's gone. Now he's gone off somewhere because he was right in that battle, wasn't he? Yeah, he's gone off somewhere. I don't think he's got damage. I think he must have potentially. We'll see if he's. We'll see down the straight if he's got damage. It look like it. Let's find out. Is he pulling anyway? Doesn't appear to be too bad, so he might have got away with that if he's gone off, but he was running in that chicane area of his fellow Ferrari driver, so that's now going to be a little bit of clean air for those guys. Tennis, meanwhile, like I said earlier, 1.3 seconds, he's just keeping that window. Jazzman right now, 1.1 seconds behind Ethan. Ethan, 2 minutes 6.1. Jazzman last lap time, 2 minutes 6.9. 2 minutes 6.7 for Tinnis. Those are the only drivers in the 206's mind. Everyone else 207s, ready 208, might we say. So they're about a second or two a lap slower. The rest of the field, that just shows you the dedication and the pace these top three have. Is even getting a massive slide up. They come through the cutting. Coming through McKinley Park in just a few moments' time. The corner where we saw some spectacular accidents earlier this year. Seeing an Aston Martin and a Lamborghini both spectacularly crash up this area of the circuit, touching the wall, losing the rear downforce on the exit down towards McKinley Park, and just a passenger really. Also down here as well, some spectacular crashes. Hopefully not to be seen any today. Meanwhile, Big Kid Danny starting to close up on Overtaker. Overtaker so far in 4th position in that Ferrari. He kicked up a lot of grass on the exit of Skyline. Won't be doing any good for those tyres. But he's so far in 4th position, holding off Big Kid Daddy, the Lamborghini, expectedly to be a little bit quick around here. We know the Lamborghini quick. However, that Ferrari with the turbo is going to be it's definitely coming up the hill. It's going to be a lot more grunting to be able to pull away. And as well, down the hill, might just be able to use that momentum as well with the turbo, just have a little more straight line speed, especially when you come back over the crest.
Yeah, exactly. And looks like Big Kid Daddy is going to challenge for the move on Overtaker pretty soon as well, as he's getting a better run going into this long straight here. As he almost made a bit of a mistake, Overtaker. This could be Big Kid Daddy's chance. Is he going to send it? Well, yeah, no, not quite, but another mistake from Overtaker then. This could be the breakthrough that Big Kid Daddy needs going towards Evil's corner, as we like to call it now, as here comes Big Kid Daddy to the right. We've got Overtaker defending to the left here. This is going to be even crucial for both of them to stay ahead. Both of them now going through the start-finish straight then. Both of them trying to cover each other off. Big Kid Daddy is going to hunt Overtaker. Can't quite do it this time though. He stays behind Overtaker for now. But this is a really hard corner, or really hard straight going into turn 2 to overtake on. Yeah. But Big Kid Daddy is on the power really, really quickly. And that's really, really helping him with his straight line speed. Is he going to go for the move once again? This is the second chance. This time he does it. He is up into P4.
Yeah, Overtaker not wanting to fight that battle too heavily. That knows more than anyone right now that you're just trying to score points. You're the highest scoring Ferrari. And really, if he tried to go back up the inside, there would have been contact there. And we especially on that corner, you do not want to have contact around this circuit, and especially into that corner. I've seen, especially in league racing, as previous memory, especially on, I remember Project Cars 1, I've seen some very big accidents there. A few drivers in this tier might remember that one. Veteran might remember a few accidents. He was involved in an accident quite a while ago, was there as Overtaker Again, kicking up some grass there, rather struggling as he comes through Skyline. Easy to do when you just get the car a little bit unbalanced, just get too wide, getting himself on the grass for a while. Bit of a gap starting to form there. We've got Chicano, S up. Davies out now up to 9th. He's doing an okay job so far. We've still got Overtaker behind everyone else. Pren starting to drop back. Vetro now up to 11th. He's pushing on. Last lap's on 1 minute 9.5. Puts him, where is it putting in terms of race pace, however? Around about the same pace as the likes of Chicano. So not too bad for him, making sure he just keeps himself consistent. He should overtake at least 1-2 of these drivers up the road. As overtaking continually to try and close up on the back of Big Kid Daddy, who just seems to got that pace a little bit more right now. Up front, meanwhile, though, and crucially, VSR Rotary, sorry, SMM Rotary, as I sin my lord, Rotary. Wrong esports team there. SMM Rotary doing an okay job so far, leading this race. 1.15 seconds up the road. Just keeping himself nice and comfortable. Doesn't want to push himself too heavily. Doesn't want to back off too much though. We really kind of got the situation, Jess. Is with the Porsche with his engine damage, he goes a bit wide there. I want to be shouldn't give him a penalty through that corner. The engine damage, you've got a choice. Do you either push it and risk the engine getting overheated? Now Ethan's told, especially with Vetro, don't really push the car over 8,000 RPM. Now, the game might be saying he's doing a little more than 8,000 RPM. He's not. He's keeping it around 8,000 RPM. The RPM counter not as accurate on this game, as we're seeing in the background. Tinnis and Jazzman really fighting those cars. They're keeping himself really up against that wall. Meanwhile, Pren in the stops. Now that's for a scheduled stop, I imagine. And so he should come out the pit lane just ahead of Slicker. He does, so no damage on that one, at least minuscule, but you can see, like, Vetro, that undercut strategy really worked because he's really pulled a gap now on everyone else. Quite crucially, though, Jess, really not seen any drivers clamp the wall and really damage their car to a severe amount of point. We saw Slicker early on going off the road, but no one else really making any mistakes, and that's quite surprising as the cameraman decides to try and give me an eye issue there as he flies through the million-mile-an-hour camera screen, but no mistakes really for any of these drivers, bar a spin, and no real severe damage. That's pretty surprising from the start of this race, yes, because I was rather expecting a few drivers to really make mistakes.
I was predicting that last week as well, but I'm guessing these drivers proved us wrong, and that is one crucial word in this factor on why they're not hitting the walls much. They've been practicing. I've seen in the chat that they've been practicing a lot more than probably what they're going to do in the other tracks on the calendar, maybe due to the nature and temperatures of this circuit. And Ethan's now broken into the 1 second mark over Jazzman. We've got Overtaker doing the undercut on Big Kid Daddy then. So he is in the pits for, I believe, is his scheduled stop. And that'll be it for him to the end of the race.
Yes, actually, you can see the car. Looks like it's wiggly.
He did get damaged. He made a mistake quite a bit earlier on as well. So his pit stop's going to be longer. Big Kid Daddy's going to be way ahead of him when he comes in.
Let's see, there's Vetro. He's coming through the chase right now. Overtaker, as long as he gets out the pit lane in the next, 5-6 seconds, he should be ahead. It's going to be a bit close. Let's have a little look then as little action going on. Rejoins now. There's Vetro for the last corner. So net result should just about be about 6-7 seconds then. Now we can release the pit limiter and away he goes. Meanwhile, Ethan's starting to get closed in by Jazzman. Jazzman in these hotter temperatures starting to pull on that pressure ever so more. 28 laps still ahead of the drivers, by the way. This is a marathon, not a sprint, you might say. It's a sprint compared to the actual 12 hours. It's only just over an hour and a bit, give or take. It goes about 80 minutes, if I'm not mistaken. About 70-80 minutes, so a little more than an hour. About under an hour and a half. Ethan slightly weaving, trying to warm those tyres up, I think, there. Gap now down just under 0.5 of a second, but Porsche versus Lamborghini. Lamborghini should just have the straight line speed, even 276, because Jasmine with the slipstream about 278. Tinnis also, Tinnis 282 kilometers now down the straight. Martin just noticed that one. So Tinnis even more quicker, and he's closing up. Jazzman is he's looking. He's trying to give Ethan a
Oh my
little
goodness.
wiggle on as he's laying on the brakes and almost goes and clouts into the rear of the Porsche driver, and he's doing that. But Jazzman, we said earlier on, Jess, and I didn't mention this, Lamborghinis good on the brakes, aren't they? And they're really starting to prove it.
Yeah, Tinnis did it earlier on, and Jazzman doing super well here as well. We've seen Big Kid Daddy go for a move on Overtaker in this corner. Is either Tinnis or Jazzman going to do exactly the same thing? Here Jazzman is looking. He can see Ethan trying to cover Jazzman off just a little bit. But again, I think Jazzman doesn't see the space and he doesn't go for the move. As Ethan almost punched into the wall there as we now go through. I can't remember what corner it is. What corner is it again? I need to get my track map up. It is, well, it was the cutting you just got past. There we go, the cutting. There we go. I should keep the track map up this time instead of having it on my streaming software. But there we go. But yeah, we've seen the battle with Jazzman and Ethan last week, which I think Ethan clipped as well, and they were having some really good racing. And Ethan described it as hard but fair, and both of them showing good respect for each other. Of course, it is starting to get hotter during the daytime now, so that's what probably Jazzman is starting to close in. Obviously, Jazzman is used to these hot temperatures in real life because obviously he lives in South Africa, so he's used to those temperatures anyway.
He's born in South Africa. He lives in Qatar, Jazz.
Qatar, oh my goodness, sorry.
Yeah, he'll get your point. It's not both very warm places, to be fair.
Yeah, warm places, that's what I was trying to say.
Warm, very warm. Qatar, of course, probably slightly more hotter than South Africa, of course, where it's more central, it's more on the equatorial line, so probably a bit more warm, but I'm no geologist, or know very much about maps. That's why I didn't do
geography at GCSE.
Right. Meanwhile, Tinnis is just sitting back and just, minding his own business, just waiting to see if drivers. Let's see, Jazzman now drops back just over a second, what's under a second. While we've got Porsche v Ferrari still, that is Essa versus Chicano. So the battle of the Porsche Ferrari continues. We've seen that before in a few places. Porsche v Ferrari, back of course in the mod in the pretty much early 70s, they were battling quite vigorously, especially when Ferrari was just before they solely focused on their Formula 1 project. And right now, Essa just sitting back, just waiting his time. Up ahead though, still top three together. Last lap times, by the way, let's have a look. 2:59, 2:59, 2:59. Best laps, by the way, for Tinnis and Ethan, exactly the same. That just shows you how closely these drivers are pushing each other to the absolute limits. And so far, Ethan just about has the measure on him, as long as he doesn't clout the wall somewhere and lose that rear wing. But that could also happen to Jazzman. It could also happen to Tinnis. Any of these drivers can make a small mistake around, especially here comes this famous corner with Family Park. Clout that wall and it's all over. Tinnis knows that well enough. I think he previously clouted that wall in a previous season. I think season 13 he hit the wall. We all remember that Jan Rosberg hit it and broke the car. Cost him a lot of time. Really lost in that race as well. Of course, season 13, but it's Rotary, Jazzman, and then Tinnis. That's your top three. 14 seconds behind, by the way. Then comes Big Kid Daddy. He's rather in kind of a awkward situation right now. We don't really know where he is. We believe around about 4th place. Well, now he's definitely 4th place because his rival Overtaker, who was very close to him, has gone into the wall somewhere. Now, presumably that's down the S section as well, and he's damaged the car very badly indeed.
Yeah, he has. Not very good, I've got to say, for him. He's got a lot of work to do now to get to the end of this race. But, it's his first race. He's learning quite a bit here. And I wouldn't want to be doing my debut race here at Bathurst. But Overtaker is proving stuff wrong, that he can still race in this track. And we got Jazzman in the pits then. He's going to do the undercut, looks like it, on Ethan then, as he... Is he going to do the same pit stop as last? We will have to wait and see. He's going to, I think, yep, he is. He goes out slightly longer than last week, so he's not got the glitch, but there he goes out. And
about 5 seconds.
5 seconds, and not too long at all then. So that's going to be interesting when the pit stop phases come.
Crucially though, Jazzman's going to come out cleaner. That's the crucial thing. He's got Big Kid Daddy. He's just up the road from him. He's got Dan and Sinclair just behind him in about, what, 4 or 5 seconds, I give that? About 5, 6 seconds. We'll have a look. 4 or 5 seconds. There we go then. So, Jazzman in a good comfortable position. So I think he was just waiting to see when that gap to Big Kid Daddy opened up before he came in the pit lane. And he's got that about correct 8 seconds behind, especially if we've got, that's a lap car. Is that Overtaker? That is Overtaker on the other Ferrari then, who clouted the wall earlier on. Probably down the S's, down towards the Forest Elbow. So, some mistakes. They come through McPhillany Park then for the 12th time in this afternoon's race. No one's clouted the wall and lost a rear wing load yet, which is really a surprise. Normally we see 1-2 drivers hit that wall and just absolutely have a bad minute there. Because you see all the debris down there, Jess, as well. So someone's kicked up a lot of grass and debris there. I'm just waiting to see. So, Ethan, is he going to come and retaliate to Jazzman and try and stop early, or is he going to stay out and just wait it through?
I wonder. I wonder if Ethan's going to respond to that challenge, or he's going to wait a few laps later. We'll have to find out, of course, but he does know he's got Tinnis right behind him as well, so maybe Tinnis will be waiting to see what Ethan does and possibly doing the opposite. So here comes Ethan then into the pit, and Tinnis, I'm not surprised he's staying out, and yep, he's coming onto the start finish straight now. So there he goes into the pits then to see what he could do. So he comes out. I think we got Big Kid Daddy as well going into the pit lane as well. And we've just had Evil Dragon disconnecting. So I think we're just going to have one camera for the time being, unless I could potentially rejoin as a spectator, as a director maybe. I don't even know. So I might have to do that at some point. I don't know if it's going to work though, because everyone is still in this race. Meanwhile, Big Kid Daddy comes out of the pit lane. So there he goes then in. So I think he's going to come out just ahead of Vetro. We'll see coming into the map then, as we can see the start finish straight, of course. See if he's going to go ahead of Vetro, or did the undercut work for Vetro? Vetro's still in the 2-minute 10, now 2-minute 9s now. And Big Kid Daddy ahead by around about 8 seconds. So Vetro not doing too bad, but obviously he has warmer tyres, so Vetro is going to benefit just a little bit from this cleaner air. I think he's lucky to get some cleaner air anyways. There's still more people yet to pit, including Davies out in P7, who's still yet to make a pit stop. Essa, Chicano, and we've got 4th place as well, still yet to make a pit stop. And then Tinnis will be expected to make a stop pretty soon as well. Interestingly enough, Rotary has got behind Jazzman. So Jazzman's undercut worked to perfection for him. So I think, apart from obviously Big Kid Daddy and Vetro obviously made the undercut work on some other drivers in this field. But for most of the others, like Jazzman, it seemed to work very well. So if I was the likes of Essa, or maybe I think Chicano potentially, I would probably think for the undercut strategy too, potentially as well. That's what I would do. But they're almost halfway into this race, so obviously a lot to think about as this session goes on. Now, if someone says, can we still see the midfield? Now, Evil is electricity's gone down just for a few moments. I mean, he has pre-warned me about this, so do not worry, guys. I was told before the stream that this could happen, so you know, we will have to stay on board with the same person until he gets into the session again, and we will know if he was back in the session, because the timers will go off again. So that's where we'll see. But you can see Ethan is trying to close in onto Jazzman now, as we're heading towards the halfway stages of this race then. Will the newer tyres help Ethan? We will see, and I can confirm it is an 80-minute race. It's an 80-minute race today, so it's a bit longer than an hour. Obviously, the 90-minute endurance race, I'll need to actually check which bit of the calendar it is. Let me see. It is, I believe that's the Austria is the first one, which is round 5, is where you expect the first one to be as well. And don't forget, if you're liking the stream so far, leave a like on the stream and subscribe and turn notifications on if you're new, so you know you don't miss a video or stream from us, because we do pretty much every league. We do F1, obviously Project Cars 2 iRacing, I said of course the Competizione, a bit of dirt as well. We do almost everything really. We used to do Rocket League, not sure when that's coming back, but hopefully that will come soon as well. And we now go through past the Murray corner now, and we can see the gap now, 1.1 seconds now separating between Ethan and Jazzman. So he's closing in just a little bit, but we'll see if he can close in a little bit more lap after lap. What was Jazzman's last time? Was 2 minutes 6.1. Ethan was a 2 minutes 6.2. So Jazzman slightly faster, but probably having the benefit of the cleaner out up in front. And we're also seeing potentially, hopefully we can see the battle as well between P6 and P7. That is Essa and I can't remember. Oh, it's Darren Sinclair. I was trying to remember the abbreviations, but I wasn't quite sure what it was. So yeah, I wonder how that's going to develop. Essa still yet to make a pit stop. 2 minute 8. Top 3 the only ones in the 2 minute 5s, 2 minute 6s. Tinnis is doing well on those worn tyres at the moment. So again, he's the one that chose to stay out a moment longer. Really, he's still in the lead, but he's pulling that gap really nicely. That could help him when he comes out of the pits. Maybe the overcut could work for Tinnis when he comes out. We'll see, of course, as the session progresses. As they all both Ethan and Jazzman go down the hill now. What's the gap now? It's still 1.1 seconds separated between them both. Not changing as much, but I think for both of them, they don't want to have any incidents, so they're trying to save their tyres as much as possible, because again, they get ever so hot here as it's getting towards, I think, halfway into this race is potentially towards the afternoon pretty soon, so it will be 6 hours in, so it'll be 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 or 12 o'clock. So 11 o'clock in the morning, 12 o'clock in the afternoon. So it's around about lunchtime almost. So the sun will be getting brighter, of course. I wonder if any of you guys in the chat have watched the Bathurst race in real life. If you've been there, or if you watched it on TV. I've watched it on TV and also on iRacing as well. It's a really interesting spectacle, I've got to say, and it's a lot of fun. And someone's left the session. I didn't quite see who that was. Well, it wasn't obviously Jazzman, because Jazzman's still, well, Ethan's closing in, so it's not, could be, I don't know who we lost actually. Think it could be, no, it's not Overtaker, it's not Vetro, it's not Essa. I don't know who it is. I think it's not Slicker. I think it's Londoff who we've lost. So unfortunately Londoff is out the race, which is a shame. He finished 4th last week, but unfortunately he is not going to be scoring many points right now, which is a shame, of course, but I'm sure you will learn from this and come back stronger for Kota in a week's time, where I believe it's the first sprint race. Yes, it's first sprint and feature, which will be next week. So qualifying will be as normal, and then it'll be a 20-minute sprint race, and then I think it's 40-minute feature race. So similar to what we've seen in the filler leagues when we've gone to Formula Rookie was the last filler league we did, and to be honest, that was a lot of fun to commentate. I enjoyed that. That was really, really intense as well. It was very close racing. We've got Pren, who is in the pits then. He is going to do his next stop. Shame I can't really control the cameras here. I wish there was a function where you could just switch roles on this game, but you can't really do that unless the host retires. We don't want the host to retire really, because that is a little bit unfair. So you're just going to have to make do with the cameras so far. And we are in about a lap's time, or in a lap and a half time, as we go towards the long straight, the Commonwealth straight coming up soon. That will be when it'll be halfway. So just past the quarry, and now going into the cut-in then. Ethan's still not closing the gap as much as he would have liked, but he's still staying true. And if these two can stay consistent this season, this could prove to be fantastic for the Drivers' Championship. We could see a really good fight between these two for the rest of the season, and Tinnis as well. 2 minutes 6-1 for Tinnis. So Tinnis starting to drop back on his lap time just a little bit, not by a lot though, as everyone's pretty much even on pace. Pren still managing to, I think Pren's struggling. Pren is struggling a little bit. Obviously Pren did pit, but he's down in 11th. Don't forget, Vetra started lower down and he's up into 9th place. And don't forget, I think it's the end of lap 34, lap 35, or the end of penultimate lap. I'll still need to double check that, is when these guys will be pitted, will have to pit, otherwise they will get a big fat DQ, and you don't really want that in this day and age, to be honest. 1.3 seconds now, the gap between Jazzman and Ethan then, so it's still staying true at the moment right now. Top three definitely on the league of their own here right now. And we are now halfway in, well, we're now halfway into this race now, with 18 and a half laps to go. Probably less than that, or 17 and a half. Now, as we head towards the most crucial aspects of this race, we did see a great battle near the end for some of the midfield drivers for position. Hopefully, we will see exactly the same today, maybe, potentially. We could see it today. We could see a challenge from the midfield drivers, in particular Essa and Davey 101. Davey's out. Davey's out. I'm getting confused between him and Zout 101. Zout 101 is not here tonight. That's why I've got a bit confused there. And we've got Tinnis. I wonder when Tinnis is pitting. Yeah, Tinnis is going to pit as late as possible, I think. And with Jazz and Tinnis racing, obviously that Jazzman and Tinnis teammates together, they've been scoring the maximum points so far in the team's championship as well. I'll actually go through the team standings in a minute whilst the action is quieting down in just a second. As you can see quite a few, a little bit of a battle going in as well. I think between, Darren, Chicano, Essa, we got Davey as well. Shame we can't see it. Hopefully Evil will join us really soon. Hopefully, he said I think it said it'll take about 10 to 15 minutes. Hopefully it won't be too much longer than that. Otherwise, it's going to be really hard just following one driver all the time. But luckily, we are following we're following two drivers that know how to race a course. So, you know, and showing some good time. Luckily, Ethan didn't have problems with his pit box this week. He got the clutch working again, which was good news, I've got to say. And it was obviously only the first race, so lessons to be learned, of course, and he's hungry for it. I think since joining his new team as well, he's come on in leaps and bounds as well. The race victory is still in his grasp. Jazzman looking to score his second win in a row, and Essa Racing. Here comes Essa into the pits as well for his mandatory stop. As Big Kid Daddy is ahead of Essa. Is Essa going to be ahead of Vetro? That's all I'd like to know. We shall see, of course, as he comes out of the pit lane very, very soon. As well, you can see Vetro as well just closing in just a little bit. So it's going to be close. Yeah, Vetro is ahead of Essa. So now Vetro up into 8th place. Chicano up into 5th. I do believe Chicano is still yet to make a pit stop, as far as I'm aware. I think he's the only one yet to make a pit stop. I wonder if on the new game we can actually see, well, I wonder if any future games on this scale, they can show the amount of pit stops, because it just gives us a little bit more of an idea. It's a little bit more difficult to find out, was someone pitted, is someone not, unless you go into Race Director, and we wouldn't want that really, but we'll have to wait and see. And obviously good luck to all of you guys in the UK that are getting your GCSE results tomorrow. Obviously during these tough times, of course, no one would want to be in, and hopefully it's worked out the best for you. And I remember the time when I went through my GCSE results, how nervous I was. I was up really early on results morning, super scared on how it was going to turn out. Luckily, it was not too bad. My results could have been better. Could have been worse, actually. But luckily, I think I only failed 2, which are D's. Which are, I don't know what their equivalent, I think it was a 3. I'm not sure. But enough about that. We want to keep people entertained right now. 1.5 then, between Jazzman and Ethan. So Ethan just, I think he's struggling a little bit, but I think he is saving a bit of tyre life at the moment. I think I can tell by the way that he's driving at the moment. I've got our first penalty of the session as well, of Overtaker, which is a shame. But it was actually nice to see that it only took to around about lap 21 or 20 before anyone else got a penalty. I thought penalties will be more prevalent around this circuit because obviously the track is quite narrow. We can see that, I think we can see a battle happening up front. We've got Overtaker and Fran, the 2 Ferraris. Shame you can't see them really, which is a bit of a shame, but you can see them on the minimap going full throttle. I think Overtaker just a few temps ahead. Fran just dropping back just a little bit on Overtaker. Again, shame you can't see it. Again, I kind of wish we can change roles, but nothing more we can do. But so far, the servers seem to be behaving very well, actually, at the moment. It was having troubles earlier, as Evil was saying. And luckily, it's fine at the moment. Hopefully, I'm going to do a touch wood here. Luckily, we won't have any mass disconnections, fingers crossed. And we have got just on lap 22, Dan Sinclair still in 4th place. I do believe he's still yet to make a pit stop as well. So I think Biggie Day's in net 4th. Tinner's still yet to pit 2. Tinner's still matching the 2-minute 5s, but they're on less fuel now. I wonder if Tinner's wants to have less fuel in the car when he pits, so he can really start to challenge the top 2. I think he wants to help his teammate as well. I wouldn't be surprised if obviously Jazzman and Tinner are in a party together. Obviously they could be in a party together all the time potentially. But we will see how this goes, how this pans out for everyone. This is really hard to commentate with just one camera. Oh my god. I really hope this doesn't go on for too much longer, but I'm trying my best, guys, to... It's kind of like a little bit of a radio commentary, but I'm just doing a little bit of mine. I think Pren seems to have struggled there. I do believe Pren has made another pit stop by the looks of it. Yes, he has. Which is a bit of a shame, of course. But he's still going. Obviously, we had one retirement from this race so far. We're down to 12 drivers. Don't forget, you can also check out the PC tier as well, going on at exactly the same time. Have both streams on at the same time because we are nice here at AOR. And we're heading towards lap 23 now of 37. And who is going to be the one that shines? Can Ethan steal away this victory from Jazzman? Can Tinnis steal away the victory at the very last second for these two? All these questions will be asked, of course, towards the end of this race. It may be towards the last lap as well. Potentially as well. Remember Hockenheim last season? Jazzman and Boyrax, so they were having a really good ding-dong battle. Jazzman was the hunter at that time. This time Ethan is the hunter. And maybe, you know, maybe this dirty air is hindering Ethan just a little bit, or maybe he's just saving. We'll have to wait and see. And we've got just under, I think we're heading towards, the 3 PM margin, around here. Actually, no, it's not 3 PM. It might be, still around about 1 PM or something like that. It is hard to tell. But it is obviously a 12-hour cycle. It is really, I can feel it really bright and hot at the moment. Right now. As they're now going towards down the hill. Still, not many people making mistakes. Pren making another mistake. So I think Pren has gone for yet another pit stop. So I think Pren must have gotten suspension damage for sure, but we won't know until obviously we go on board with him. Tinnis is now going into the pit as Evil Dragon has joined the session. So we're going to wait until he joins Discord and then we can carry on showing the midfield action, because the midfield action has been close all race and I would like to see how that plays about, I've got to say. And I think we can see a car being lapped. I believe that's Pren. That's not going to help Ethan with this traffic. Jazzman's going to like this though. And we can see Pren is... Oh, you can see the damage that Pren has had. Which is a shame. But he's still going. Hopefully he won't make any more pit stops. That's for sure. Hopefully that'll be him done. I wonder how much fuel Pren has got as well. Overtake is still in at the 2-minute 10. Now the gap now 2.5. So that traffic did not. So Tinnis just pitting. Oh, even make a little bit of a mistake there, but Tinnis just pitted and Tinnis is ahead, which is really, really good. So Tinnis getting that overcut nicely actually. So Tinnis is leading from Jazzman, from Ethan, making the podium. So Tinnis making the strategy work, as it seems. More than anything, the first time that the overcut has worked wonders for these guys. So well done to Tinnis there. I didn't see much of whether they were ahead at this stage. But Tinnis is showing wonders. Now, I think we've got a certain Mr. Murray Walcott on the Discord, I believe.
Hello.
Hello. That was a... I think that was a... What was it? Well, it was the electricity that died, didn't it? As expected, right? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, just to keep you updated, Tinnis has just pitted. He's now in the lead. We got our first penalty and Ethan's just got a penalty as well. So that's not good for him, but he's still going, of course.
I'm presuming that must be an undercut strategy from Jazzman and Tinnis.
No, Jazzman pitted. I think it was Jazzman pitted. Jazzman did the undercut. Ethan then pitted after, and Tinnis pitted a lap ago. Lap 23.
And Ethan is now, oh, as the, all of the timing screens are bugging up for me. Well, it'll take a few laps. I imagine this does this, isn't he?
And we can now see different people now. Yay!
Yay.
we're
Vetro's leading my screen. But Vetro's been on the wall somewhere heavily, by the way. What has happened to Vetro? Oh dear.
I don't know, because we weren't on board with him. We were on board with Ethan pretty much like 9 or 10 laps. So we only see what happened there. But yeah, I think Fren has been in the walls quite a bit as well. I think it was his fourth pit stop. He's now in last and he's a few laps down. So that's not good.
Yeah, looks like Davies out and Vetro may have come to the walls at some point. Both of those cars looking damaged. Looks to me like Davies out's got the pace on Mr. Vetro down the straight. It comes down the Conrad. So let's see if he can close back up. Hopefully, by the way, that should all be mended. I shouldn't ran a bit sparing. I wasn't expecting that to go like that. Nonetheless, though, let's see. Davies out. Is he going to line up and move down into the chase? He's a little bit too far back from this way in the Bentley. He's a big boy, but it's got big brakes, but I don't think there's bigger brakes than that Porsche. Porsche runs a little bit wide. Vetro a little bit squiggly out the corner. Let's see, down towards Murray's. He's going to cover the inside line. Ooh. He's going to give him the space. Let's see, down the inside. Thinks about it there, doesn't do it. Vetro locks up, though. I think he's gone a little bit wide into the gravel. He does do so as well. This is all just going to allow him back up the inside. We go on board, on the outboard. Back to track side, and he's ahead. Yes, he is. So back ahead, the big Bentley ahead of the Porsche. And then the Porsche, good exit speed for him. Might just come straight back through again on the outside then, side by side up the hill. Porsche v Bentley. It's the size difference that matters. Let's see, side by side. They're always touching. Look at this. Let's see, Vetro on the outside, Bentley on the inside. Let's see, they almost sort of touch again as they come down the straight. Davies out there on the brakes. Vetro later on the brakes as well. The side by side has contact through the corner, but just about gets ahead then. So, Vetro keeping his nose clean just about, apart from the car looking like it's been in a few barriers and maybe been over, but he's capped it around the outside through the cutting then. Absolutely on point. So, beautiful job from Davies out. Good point from Vetro as well. Two drivers keeping itself on the absolute limit. Meanwhile, Big Danny's gone off the road. And he's gone, that's down towards Forest's elbow, losing the rear end down there. He's battling with Chicano. So, a few mistakes, Jess, but as soon as I return, action resumes by the sounds of it.
Yeah, there was a nice battle, I think. Well, I was looking at the timing screens. I think it was a battle starting to develop between, I think, Darren, Chicano as well, Esther before he pitted. And I think Vetro's undercut has definitely worked wonders, I think, today, as he's undercut quite a few people on this circuit. I think the only person he didn't undercut was Big Kid Daddy, who got ahead of him. But yeah, it would have been nice to see how that develops, of course. But here comes Davey again. He's flashing his light, saying, "I want to get past. I'm faster than you, my friend." As he goes down the hill once again, a similar move to what we've seen earlier on with some other drivers. We're getting a bit close there. Again, a bit late on the brakes. That could have been a massive shunt, but luckily it wasn't.
Vetro too much on the curb there. He almost attacks that, but I've seen that. That's V8 supercar territory there. Davies out. I thought for a second he was going to try and go to the pit lane then. I'm not sure why you do that. Again, Vetro is struggling with that rear end, so he gets himself back on the circuit. Back away we go. And back again for another lap. The only two drivers real battling on this circuit. Jazzman closing up on Tinnis, by the way. Gap now down to 2.93 seconds, so it was about 3.78 earlier on. Now it's down to 3.2. Ethan closing up ever so slightly as well with that 2-second time penalty, however. But those three drivers, Jeff, 40 seconds behind them is Darren Sinclair. Well, technically 35 if you're counting SMM Rosary, who's a little bit further back. But 35 seconds, 36 seconds ahead of the rest of the field. And over a minute ahead of this gaggle of cars here of Vetro and Davies out. Really impressive pace below three drivers.
Yeah, obviously they won in Tier 1 last season, Darren Sinclair, and he's doing much better than I would expect. Another dark horse in this league, and if he keeps it up, he could be in Tier 1 for many seasons as Vetro clips the wall almost. Oh, he's got damage there. That's not good. I think that's going to help Davey just a little bit more. I think we're starting to see more mistakes as the drivers are starting to not find their rhythm as much, obviously, because it's quite a long race. It's longer than an hour. It's around about 80 minutes, I can confirm. And a bit longer than last week, and obviously more demanding for these drivers. And we are almost, we're on 11 laps, well, 12 laps to go of this race. anything can happen.
Yeah, Davy's out almost hitting the wall as well. So both of these two drivers in the walls. I don't think Vetro's going to have too much damage from that. It doesn't look like he's got any damage from that, to be fair. He's a very lucky puppy indeed. Meanwhile, Vicky Daddy, we got Chicano. Is that Darren Sinclair and the Audi? Don't know where that's come from, by the way. So I don't know when he was in fourth, but that's an incredible race so far from Darren Sinclair. Fourth position. Really punching against his weight. He was down there in, 14th, 15th earlier on. Back to the meanwhile, the battle of the Bentley Porsche battle. It's England versus Germany, just like it was in the war. So, getting all your things, and that's the big Bentley, which of course did, well known, it's big engines of course. Porsche as well, in both retaliations of war. But nonetheless, this is Battle of Australia, not the Battle of Britain. So, let's see what happens then. Bentley versus Germany, England versus Germany. Porsche versus Bentley, whatever you want to put it. Meanwhile, up the road, it's Italy versus Germany as well. So, battle of many different things, by the way, going on. And so far, Chicano in the middle of a bit of a train right now between those three drivers. So far, it's Davies out and Vector, the only two really battling on circuit. Good to see everyone in the chat as well. Good to see good old Foggy back in the chat as well. Everyone's favourite Foggy, who we miss dearly in GT3 and would love to be back. Why? Was Pren gone into the wall? Yes, he has.
Once again.
And that is Ethan coming to lap him. That is your top three just passing on screen, as well as, oh dear. Oh, never mind. Okay, that's interesting. So his pit box on my screen is always elemental pit lane. His fuel guy has just absolutely teleported and broken his legs to get to him. So that's interesting. Meanwhile, back to Davies out and Vetro. Those two still continuing their ding-dong of a battle so far this afternoon's race. Davey looking pretty comfortable so far. Vetro again clouting that wall ever so slightly. Getting a bit of a line there. He clouts the wall again for good measure. Just about trying to cover on Vetro. Really under pressure right now, just to come down towards Forest Elbow. Really struggling, losing that rear end. And this could be that situation, Jess. Vetro sometimes does crack under pressure. And I think now, let's see, moves one way to the other, one way to the other. Now let's see, Davies out on the outside line. Bentley versus Porsche yet again. Straight line speed of that car should be good. Darren Sinclair in the pit lane as well. Side by side down the straight. Let's see, has the Porsche got anything in a straight line? No, it doesn't. Has to pull behind. The Bentley's grunt down the straight. Absolutely phenomenal in the pit lane coming out. Darren Sinclair, so that was his scheduled stop then. So he wasn't running a net fourth. But Davies out. Now ahead of Vectro. Who now drops back about 2 seconds then nearly. So about 8 tenths. Small mistake for him. Darren Sinclair should come out just ahead of these two drivers because they've been battling so heavily. They are. So Darren Sinclair in sixth. He is the man in no man's position right now. Up front, Tinnis. Then comes Jazzman just behind him. There you can see Ethan there in third. Vicky Daddy and Chicano. Chicano now behind Vicky Daddy. Was ahead a minute ago. Now he's behind him again. So those two have switched around in the last few moments. Davies out now, starting to pull ahead of Vectro after he's dispatched of him. But what a battle between those two we've had the last 3-4 laps.
Yeah, it's great to see that we're having more battles in the midfield coming to show, really, especially with the likes of Vectro fighting with the new guys and the new guys fighting with the veterans, just getting a little bit of experience. And it's going to give, I think, Davies out a little bit of confidence boost for him being ahead of Vectro at the moment, because if he could do it, then other people can do it, and I think it's going to help some other drivers that are lacking in confidence.
Indeed. Well, let's see. Vectro's still pushing on very hard, though. He's starting to drop back now, however. We've got 12 laps to go in this afternoon's motor race. So far, low up front, it is the man Tinnis leading this race. Didn't really see how he did that overcut, to be fair, but whatever he's done wonders, because we didn't see it, but whatever he's done, he must have done some incredible lap times. Because Ethan was leading by about a second or two again, though, getting outclassed and just being outmatched when it matters by the two Lamborghinis, who are, for whatever reason, just phenomenal on their pit strategy. Of course, you didn't see exactly the pit time, or if Ethan made a mistake to get behind Jazzman, because
I think the only thing we saw was Ethan pitting, and we saw obviously Jazzman pitting. Well, we saw Jazzman and Ethan pitting, but we didn't see Tinnis pit. But I saw Tinnis had a little pit window, and then I saw the gap, and it was around 2 seconds between Tinnis and Jazzman when Tinnis came out of the pit lane.
Indeed. Well, That does mean, though, that Tinner still leads this race. 3 seconds up the road from his teammate Jazzman. 3 seconds behind is his fellow comrade Ethan. 48 seconds behind is Big Kid Danny. He's coming through the cutting. They're almost half, well, they are almost half a lap down. These 3 drives, by the way, coming up to lap, I believe it's not Fren who's going grass cutting through the top of the circuit. It's going to be not Overtaker, it'll be Esser in the other Porsche. You just see behind them. There we are. There is your leader. Just coming through the top of your circuit. Then behind them, second. And just behind him, you'll see the blue and white Porsche 911 GT3. That is of Ethan. And right behind him there is a very sideways Ferrari of Overtaker. And just coming up the top of the circuit, by the way, and haven't got down the hill. That is your race. There is your battle for 4th and 5th. So, absolutely dominating this race, the top 2. They're almost, well, top 3 might say, they're almost, what, half a minute, well, they are half a lap ahead, which is a 2-minute lap time, and they are 51 seconds. So they're way over half a lap ahead of Darren Sinclair, Davies out, Vetro, Slicker as well, who's almost going to get lapped as well in this race. S up. Now, this is going to be the situation, Jess, getting lapped on this circuit. If you get caught in the wrong place, it's going to cost you more time than it will gain.
Yeah, I think that's probably why it caught a few more drivers out like Pren, I think, by the looks of things. And sometimes the pressure is usually there if you've got some clean air as well, sometimes, if you're a back marker. So, yeah, it's going to be hard for Prem to recover from that. But Essa, still in 10th place. He won't be too happy, but at least he has been on a worse situation. At least he's still in 10th place, and he's fighting for a good amount of points in this race. And he was so close to winning the Formula Rookie Championship, but obviously he didn't. And obviously Tinnis leads now. I wonder if Jazzman is just going to find just a little bit of time on Tinnis in these final couple of laps. I doubt it, but we'll see. I wonder if Jazzman has got a little bit of a party engine saved for that.
Indeed. Well, meanwhile, just seeing in the chat, by the way, a few people saying they wish they signed up. Well, you can still sign up for reserve, by the way, and by the looks of things going, got a few drivers missing. You might be even able to race it next week, so anything can happen. So do sign up to the reserve list.
I'll find the link for you.
Forums, if you know where you can find them. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge, and you, of course, can get put into that. There's a reserve teams championship, I believe, still ahead, so always a possibility to race here. And of course, we do welcome all new drivers as well. Vicky Daddy, meanwhile, he is not the new driver. He is the oldest driver in the field, because Fogarty is retired. He's gone off to the care home. So Vicky Daddy now has to take the mantle as the most experienced driver in the season. No, not too much ahead of Jazzman, who's on about 327 starts, I think, now, give or take. So he's an old horse as well, the old boys. And then we've got Ethan, started in season 11, so he is one of, if not almost as well, one of the more experienced drivers in Tier 1. Been there since season 11. Of course, he did miss one season about 2 seasons ago due to having a minor wheel issue. He missed a few races, of course, last season as well. He's back and fighting as well on his good old Thrustmaster, his old plastic wheel, because I've got a nice leather wheel, which is much more nicer. So there you go. Leather probably beats plastic in certain situations. Meanwhile, Tinnis leading this race. He's coming up to lap. That is Essa, and this is not a place you really want to be getting lapped. Essa's going to be in a really awkward situation right now, and he's got nowhere he can go. No. He gets out of the way there, so just about get out of the way. Meanwhile, Chicano in the pit lane. Jazzman probably coming up. Now, the drivers were warned, actually, that do not get out of the way down here. Get out of the way down the straight. So I think Essa might get himself in a little bit of trouble, because I believe that was in the rules. It was definitely last time he raced here, as well as an LMP2 to get out of the way down the straight, if possible. Of course, you can get out of the way there, but it is very risky indeed. Meanwhile, Big Kid Daddy now on his own, because Chicano to come in the pit, then come back out. He's now behind Darren Sinclair, so Sinclair back up to 5th. Fren, meanwhile, I think has retired the car somewhere, because he's just parked in the pit lane, probably having an ice cream in the nice hot summer's, well, autumn evening, but it's probably about a summer's evening here in the UK, or summer's day, and a bit more all the time in Australia. Top 2 now, 2.1 seconds. Gap starting to close. Last lap time, from Tinnis was a grand total of 2 minutes 6, 2 minutes 5.8, so it takes out about 8, 9 tenths of a second per lap. Now that could have just been down to the traffic of Esso up the road. We'll see this next lap time as well. Ethan not too far behind either. Everyone else nearest drivers to Lem, Big Kid Daddy. To be fair, the nearest drivers to them compared to Big Kid Daddy right now will probably even be Sinclair. We've got Chicano. Davies out, meanwhile. Where's he come from? He's flying in this race. He's pulled out, what, 5 seconds on Vetro, looking all over the back of Chicano right now. So Bentley, race starting to come alive in this afternoon's race. Won the Axel 12 hours of Bathurst. 12 hours of Mount Panorama, might we say. Might try and fancy a move down the hill then. Bentley power versus Ferrari power. Italy versus Germany. Yet again, here we go then. Slipstream time. I should imagine to see that Bentley try and sweep around the outside down towards the chase if he's got enough tone. Then see Ferrari with its turbo. However, it might just about be on the pace. So if he's going to do it, he'll have to do it down to the chase. I think he's a little bit too far back, about 2-3 attempts. Let's see, he'll try and put himself around the outside. Chicano gives him the space. But you're not going to go around the outside, especially in that car. You might try it down if you get a good exit towards Hell Corner, down towards T1. But it's all just about lining that position up. Has a little think about going up the inside, try and unsettle the car. Can't do it. Meanwhile, in the background, Vetro that. 5 seconds down the road. In the background, you can just see, I believe that's your race leaders starting to come down towards the Conrad Straight. Hello, Davy Zam. He's really a man on the mission, Jess, right now. And really looking, I don't think he won't do him down this straight either, but looking in the next lap or two to get past his fellow Italian car. And let's see.
They are encouraged to be let through in the straights, but Davey looking brilliant with Chicano, having a battle. He was having a battle with Vetro, now it's Chicano's turn, really. One of the Ferraris not doing too well, one of the Ferraris doing brilliantly, and just past going into the cutting. And I think Davies out is a man on a mission. He doesn't want to just get 7th place, he wants to get 6th place or even 5th place. 5th place is still in his grasp at the moment. There's only 2 guys with penalties, everybody else still completely clean, but there may be a few people on some warnings actually, so we've got to be wary of that. As we've got Chicano, I think it's going to be hard if you want to try and make a move on the S. You're encouraged not to try and make a move there, but no, Davey is trying to prove us wrong, but he's just staying behind, which is great to see.
Yeah, you want to make a move down here. You could try and make a move down to the Forest Elbow if you're brave, but really you want to be lining yourself up down the straight, which he's doing perfectly. Again, this is where the Ferrari's is going to be so much more quicker. It's got more grunt, it's got that turbo, it's going to help it down here. Especially when we come back up the hill, we got raw horsepower of that Bentley. We know it's a quick thing in a straight line. It is the 3rd quickest car in a straight line, but that Ferrari, you'd be surprised, is the quickest car by maximum speed it can theoretically get to. It's the quickest. However, the issue is it really does not get to it very well. That's why likes of the Mercedes and the Lamborghini, normally the favoured choice. They get to their top speeds a little more quickly, especially down certain circuits. But alas, Ferrari round here proving quite well. It's a shame we won't see what the McLaren could do, but every person, and as well Archil, not in this race. Hopefully next couple of races we might see him. Davies out though, up 4,000 his lap time, keeping himself on the press and just pushing the fellow car up the road of Chicano, and really just pushing Chicano along, to be fair. You know, when you get behind the car ahead does seem on this game to go slightly more quicker in a straight line as well. So these two pushing each other up and are closing ever so slightly, about a second a lap, about half a second a lap to Dad and Sinclair then. So Sinclair under pressure as well. We've got 33 out of 37 there. You can just see Sinclair just up the road. There he is. You'll just see him there and just popping through the back of the shot in just about 2-3 milliseconds there. There is Chicano. There is Davies out, the Ferrari and the Bentley being rather hounding that Ferrari. The Ferrari just looking back and it's just seeing a rear wing pop over the top of the hill. That's all you see. If you're coming over a crest, you'll see the Bentley before the Ferrari. That's how big the thing is. And so far, pushing himself to the absolute limit and getting himself all out of shape through McFinley Park as well. And just about, I think, keeping it on the road. He does that time. Pushing himself to the limit, Jess. And you must be careful to be doing too many more of those mistakes, because that almost could have ended in a very, very nasty accident. It would have ended in a nasty accident if he did go off the road and spin it.
Yeah, exactly. It could have almost gone completely wrong for both of these drivers, but there's another side there from Davey, but he's performing very, very well indeed, of course. And for those of them that make it to the end in a good position, they're really going to be happy with themselves. We're going to see Davey. He's going to try at least as well, but we're still watching the battles reach on, I think, between the top three. Ethan dropping about another 2 seconds, I think, as well. So I think he's just going to settle for third place, which is still going to be a good result for him compared to last week. But he would have wanted the win today.
Yeah, indeed. He's pushing on hard. Meanwhile, that Bentley, that Ferrari closing up on the Audi. You can just see in the background how much the elevation changed on there. It's circuit's often known as the circuit of many hills down that straight. It's about 4 of them originally. Now, in the 1960s, those hills down there, they were slightly more erratic. They were a lot more bumpy down there. They've been changed, of course, after a series of massive accidents and fatalities, of course. But it's really easy. If you get the car just too quick, you get the car unsettled over those bumps, you are still going to go in a big off. You're carrying the speed of about 270, 280 kilometers an hour down towards the braking zone into the chase. That's what, about 150 miles an hour, give or take, Jess, if I'm not too mistaken in my kilometers. But you can see these two drivers really starting to close up on Darren Sinclair now. Gap is what? 3.7 seconds. And they're taking, what, a second a lap nearly out, so they should be in about the last lap or two.
Yeah, indeed, a few laps to go of this race. And we're going to see Tinner's close in onto Jazzman in the championship now. Gap was 5 points coming into this race. So I don't know how many points you get per win. I think I need to actually double check that, but I think Tinner's will be leading the championship after this. But here we go. Davey's going to try and challenge once again around the S's. I don't think you want to challenge there, my friend. Maybe the straight will be the best option there as well. As it's getting, I think the temperatures will start to get colder as the evening draws on. It's almost coming up to 5 p.m. in Australia, because it is 12-hour progression, of course. So we're almost heading to the end of what would be the 12-hour.
Indeed. Well, he's pushing on hard, these 3 drivers. Meanwhile, up front, Jazzman and Tinnis, possibly leading these races. They took, last week they took a 1-2, if I'm not too mistaken. This week, as long as nothing goes wrong in the next 3 and a bit laps, another 1-2 on the board. So, yep. Pushing hard. Again, Ethan's been nerfed down a position or 2 where he should have finished, down to 3rd. Moved out for a friend, meanwhile, so he's getting himself lapped down the back. He's getting lapped by Overtaker, who is himself closing up on S's. So really, as Overtaker going almost into the wall, he almost does touch the wall. Fred now, how many far back is he? About 3 laps? What laps he's on? Let's have a little look if it lectures. He's on lap 32, so yeah, 2 and a bit laps down. So not like you can do, unfortunately, mistakes can happen. Meanwhile, Davey Zamp continuing on that pressure and continuing on the fight. He's trying all his hardest to try and unsettle Chicano. However, he's not going to do it too much yet. Now he gets good exit through here, but no way through on the outside through the cutting. Just have to sit back again. This is the battle for 5th, 6th and 7th. Well, technically almost 5th as well, because just up the road, about, 2 seconds, 3 seconds. So these 2 battling already, helping Darren Sinclair just stay ahead. But this is incredibly close, Jess. You don't normally see 2 cars this close. Ferrari versus Bentley, though. And Chicano was touching the wall, overtaker in the pit lane. I'm wondering, is that for damage? It does look like it does. You can see the car weaving ever so slightly, maybe for some fuel as well. 2 laps to go. Still Davey's out. Still trying. Now, the best thing he's going to do here, if he wants to get past, he needs to get the line down out of this corner. He needs to be right up the rear end of that car. Maybe just try and even just slightly sliver one up the inside. Just try and unsettle him. And then just be able to get the power on, because you see, look, they exit the corner. Ferrari starts to pull away ever so slightly. Now, as long as you keep in the slipstream, as long as you get to within about a 10th down here, you might just be in the window to try and lunge one up the inside. Of course, you've got 2 laps to go, so we are coming into that window where if you're going to make a overtake, you're going to have to start and really try and do it. Let's see, though, is he going to try one up the inside? He thinks about it. Down on the brakes. Late braking from the Bentley. Ferrari gives him room then, so I said he might try it. You know what? He's gone and tried. He's on the grass on the outside. But clean round the outside through the chase. Fair enough. exactly when I said he needed to do it, well, guess what? He goes and does it. So, maybe he's listening in. Maybe he's got some ears in. He knows exactly when he needs to do it. I thought maybe he was going to see that sooner or later. And straight through, on point. And beautiful stuff. Later on the break, the Ferrari Chicano had nothing against that. The Bentley, when it was to come through, it's a missile. We often say, and look, it's already pulled about 7, 8 temps up the road already.
I think he probably might have been listening to the stream. You never know. Sometimes some drivers do like to listen to it, but I don't because it distracts me from the race action. But yeah, Davey, amazing stuff. Now up into 6th place in this race. And only 2 seconds behind Darren, but I think it's going to be hard to catch him with almost a lap and a half to go. We're on the final lap now. The leaders are on the final lap now. Lap 37 to 37 as Tinners goes into towards turn 2, and we've got Jazzman right behind him as well.
Indeed, 37 laps gone, 37 laps completed, and no more than 37 laps will not be ahead of us, like I usually say. 0 laps ahead of us because we're on the final lap this time. But like last time, which I said, there was 37 still ahead of us when we're on the 37th final lap. So that happens occasionally. Nonetheless, Jazzman and Tinners driving a beautiful job. No mistakes, though, for these two drivers. No one, as far as we know, because we don't know how those 10 laps, lost their rear wing. So, good to see. Well, Tinners flying through the top of the circuit through McFinley Park. Jazzman follows suit through McFinley Park, almost hitting the wall on point. That would have been a very awkward situation as well, but he has over a minute ahead of everyone else, so he did make a mistake. It wouldn't cost him too much time either. Ethan just sitting back there, Rotary, doing a beautiful job for Side Max Motorworks. Always a man on the mission, 3rd position. But so far, Jazzman and Tinners keeping each other clean, keeping each other nice and done. That's Slicker coming to lap, by the way. Chicano, meanwhile, he's trying to close back up to Davies out. They're just seeing the notification they're close together, but I don't think they will be doing it. Meanwhile, the first and final sector on this race was set by Rotary. First sector as well by Rotary. The first lap in this race was set by Tinners in the house, a 2-minute 5.4. Rotary fast lap was a 2-minute 5.2 actually, so nevertheless, I think Ethan might have the fastest lap. Here we go then, Tinners. Ethan took race number, Jazzman took number 1 victories of the team battle. Well, guess what, Jazzman? It's not all going to be gloom and gloom for you. You're not going to win the championship easy because Tinners will take it. The second blow, and he'll win here down under in Bathurst. Jazzman in second, making it the second 1-2 in a row. Ethan's finally going to score the first podium of his campaign this season, but he would have rather have thought he might have got himself a win this race. Meanwhile, by the way, we've got an absolute ace before we see the next car cross the line in terms of leading laps, because we've still got Big Kid Daddy. Darren Sinclair, by the way, getting caught by Davies out, but I think a little bit too far back. He's closed that gap by over 1.5 seconds. However, unless Sinclair makes a mistake, it looks to me like all going to be nice and dandy for him. Davies out and Chicano. There they are, through the middle of the circuit. We're just waiting for Big Kid Daddy to cross the line. He's miles behind. And we still then got to wait for the likes of Vectro as well. That's coming through the top of the circuit from McFinley Park as well. Not a bad result from Vectro. He's ahead of Slicker. Maybe you could have got more. However, we'll never know. Here we go, though. Big Kid Daddy. The man, the consistency. The man who often wants to push himself to the limit. Got 3rd last week. Gets 4th this week. A man who's definitely put himself in a position for that best of the rest in the championship. 4th position, 1 minute behind the race leader, but I don't think he'll mind that too much. We're now just waiting for Darren Sinclair, the Audi driver. Last time we saw an Audi doing this well would have been about a season or 2 ago. Not often we see them running so high. Remember, all the Mercs used to run so high. Not one of them in the top 5, not one of them in the top 6. Here they come then. Darren Sinclair through the final corner. He'll finish in 5th position. Davies out in 6th position, just ahead of Chicano by a couple of tenths of a second, 4 tenths of Chicano. Now we're just waiting for Vectro, Slicker, and then Esser, I believe, finish the race. We're just waiting for the last 2 of Vector and Slicker. Vector across the line, then 8th position. Not bad, Slicker rather mounting the wall and getting himself a penalty as well, just at the finish line. And I don't know how big that penalty would have been, but I think it might have been quite big. Well, meanwhile, congratulations to Tinners. Victory here today then from Jazzman in 2nd position. Rotary lines up in 3rd from taking pole position. Bicky Daddy in 4th. A great result for the Englishman. Darren Sinclair in 5th position, ahead of the Dutchman, the highest Dutchman in the field of Davies Out. The Irishman of Chicano in 7th position, ahead of the other Dutchman of Vetter in 8th. Slicker in 9th from England, ahead of Esser in 10th. Overtake of the Czechoslovakian in 11th. Brennan in 12th. And only one non-starter and one retirement, I believe, and that would have been Londoff, who I'm pretty certain...
Yeah, Londoff was out, yeah.
Yeah, Londoff, who retired from earlier on, and 3 drivers out not showing up either, unfortunately, due to various issues. But Jess, an absolutely incredible race throughout the field.
Yeah, really fantastic race, and well done to all these drivers for not causing too many incidents this race, and there's going to be less trips to the stewards, I must say. So, absolutely fantastic, and Tinners was just a class of the field today.
Indeed. Well, we'll have some interviews in just a few moments' time. I know we've got Ethan, and we're seeing if we can get any others in just a few moments' time, but I'll drag Mr. SMM Rotary in. Let's just drag him in whilst we hopefully wait for a few other drivers to join Combox number 2, if they are all watching. But Ethan, 3rd position, got pole. However, did not end up counteracting that again. Text for your race, however, what was a very difficult but beautiful afternoon.
I wouldn't say difficult. I don't know where you get that from. But I think it was a splendid afternoon, if I'm honest. Yeah, I got pole, didn't finish where I started, but we'll start with qualifying. I was going to say that qualifying lap that was obviously the final lap that could be set. I say that was a sexy lap. That in the words of Lewis Hamilton, that was a really nice lap. And then just obviously bolted off at the start, tried to keep it out of the wall, but the pace was just obviously just so close throughout the entire race. I think me, Tinnis and Jazzman were probably lapping so closely together. You couldn't pull away and you couldn't catch up. It was just that difficult. In the hotter conditions, as the race started going through, the Porsche started to develop some understeer in some of the slower corners, obviously, which had to change my driving style a bit to accommodate for that. And towards the end of the race, the engine started to lose a bit of power. I was down by 5 horsepower towards the end of the race. But if I'm honest, it may have seemed like a difficult weekend, or difficult race, but honestly, I'm over the moon because I put in over thousands of kilometers around Bathurst, over 1,000 kilometers in the Porsche alone, just to preparate for this race, and it's delivered. It got pole. It got the fastest lap of the race again. That's 2 races in a row. That's fastest lap by a good few tenths as well. It's doing everything that it needs to do, and I can't be more happy. It's brilliant. I may have finished 3rd, started pole, but I'm happy with where I finished because I proved the car's fast, and I proved those who doubted me that I am good enough to be challenging at the front. But yeah, a solid race in my opinion.
Indeed. Well, we're just waiting for a few other drivers, but again, beautiful race. We're just saying, by the way, a few drivers struggling to get into the interview box, so that's a bit interesting. Hopefully we get that in. But Ethan, you got to look through though. Your teammates down there in 8th, 7th position there. So again, not bad, of course, but over a minute behind you on the pad. Of course, he'll admit as well. He probably was going to struggle around this circuit of anyone. So nonetheless, though, only got to look positives for him, don't you?
Yeah, I mean, it's been a hard couple of days practicing for Bathurst. Obviously, a track Retro hasn't driven at, and I'm sure you'll agree, a track he doesn't know too much. Of course, being on the pad, it does extremely prohibit him. But, we've been working quite closely. Obviously, during practice, we've been having some strange issues. We've been running the identical setups. Obviously then he'd change the setup to accommodate for the pads, and he'd struggle with oversteer, I'd have understeer. So there was a few nitpicking issues, but unfortunately, just some of those things that just happened. But I think he'd be happy with where we finished, and I think it was a top 8. Yeah, especially at Bathurst, a track that's very difficult, a track with no margin for error. And, his pace in practice, he may doubt himself sometimes, but he is actually faster than he actually thinks, and he's just got to keep his chin up and just keep banging out these really good results, because even if it's not where he wants to be, it's still actually, in reality, really, really good performance. So, honestly, team-wise, absolutely amazing day again. Honestly, this Porsche just continues to deliver.
Indeed. Well, meanwhile, we'll move to the man who I can see the beautiful face in the Discord, by the way. Hello, Jazzman. Another beautiful result, by the way. Second position. Take us through your race, however.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
I can.
Okay. The race was. I wasn't expecting. I thought it would just be me and Tennis today, but it was good to see Rotary, and it was a really tough race. Glad I was able to jump him when I went into the pits, but then I really was struggling with understeer, and it was just a really tough race overall. But good win to my teammate, and congratulations, Rotary. Good drive, man. And been a good night. Wasn't bad.
Indeed. Beaten by your teammate, however, through pit stops, it looked like. I mean, I didn't see it because I had a simply horrific power issue. But take us through, again, another 1-2 for your team. How was the motivation in that team rising now?
Well, we are very pleased. We've just been very pleased with how everything's gone the first two races. Everything seems to, go to plan. We were in communication with each other about what to do in the pit stop to try and obviously jump Ethan, if it was possible. So I bit the bullet and I took the risk first. And when I came out in clear air, I just tried my best. Managed to jump Rotary, and then Tennis, he decided to stay out, and he just had better pace, and he was the deserved winner today.
Indeed. Well, again, though, if you have any words for your teammate as well, what would you say to your teammate right now?
Oh man, I'm just really proud, man. He's really, I would say he's really found some speed over from last season, and he's performing really good, and he's giving me a hard time, which is good to have in a team. So I hope it may continue, and I hope that he continues on and gets really good results heading forward.
Indeed. Well, let's move on, by the way, to Essa. Hello, Essa. Haven't seen you for quite some time in our beautiful com box. How did your race go from your perspective? Of course, was racing right down the back of the field earlier on, and we saw you with Slicker earlier on. Slicker, I believe, spun. Can you take us through that incident from your perspective?
Yeah, it was just coming over the top of the mountain, and I saw, as I came around the corner, basically just saw him facing the wrong way. So I just luckily managed to squeeze past without any damage, or without hitting him, really.
Yeah, very close there, wasn't it?
Yeah, but firstly, I just want to say congrats to the top three. Pace was incredible from all of them. But for me, I'm just really pleased to be able to. Well, my goal for tonight was aiming for a top 10, and I was hoping to try and make it without being lapped based on my pace last night in the practice race. And I almost made it, but not quite there.
Alas, sometimes it cannot be, of course, but Porsche proving to be quite formidable in this first couple of the races, and you were also driving in the Porsche. How do you look at the Porsche compared to other cars you've driven in the past?
Well, before the season started, I tested pretty much every one of them, and it seemed to just have a balance that I was happy with, so that's why I chose it. Obviously, as you can see, with Ethan's pace in it, it's quick and it's able to compete potentially for wins. Just for this week, I just haven't been able. I just couldn't get a balance with it this week. Bathurst I love the track, but it's never been one of my best. So I think it'll be. I would be surprised if you don't see a Porsche on the top step at some point this season.
Indeed. Does the seeing of Ethan, of course, that motivate you? Seeing that another Porsche can do that well, does that spur you on?
Yeah. I mean, last week I know he had his issues, obviously with his clutch in the pits. So I was by the end of the race, I was quite surprised to be so close. But I think it's good to see that this car has got potential, and quite clear. I mean, Bathurst is a bit of a tricky one, especially for overtaking. So congrats to the guys that managed to do it in the pit stops. I think that's probably the only way you can really overtake. So, but it's good to see. I mean, I know it's been said in the group chat, but it's so great to see the amount of different cars in this season.
Yeah, very much is, of course. But like we saw on circuit, you can overtake on this circuit, as we saw with a few drivers. Of course, we can go into that later on if you watch the stream back, because there was a massive battle going on between about 3-4 drivers on the last 5-6 laps, and it was incredible to watch. But Jess, to you, any questions for the drivers?
Well, I think you pretty much answered all of them, Ivor, except it would have been nice to hear from Tinnis, of course, but I'm sure we can hear from him next week or so. But yeah, well, good job to Jazzman and Ethan on their podiums, and obviously Tinnis for the win, and great job, Esther, on your great performance today. And it was great to see the likes of Darren and obviously Davey as well, having some great battles. Chicano as well did a great job. It was just great to see different people just shining on their day and getting their best results of the season.
Indeed. Well, again, Jess, for usual, let you round off the stream.
Thank you very much, Ivor, and we will see you same time next week in COTA in Austin, Texas for the Circuit of the Americas, where we'll be having our first sprint and feature race of the season. So that should be interesting. So we will see you then for some more GT3 action. So for myself and Ivor, goodbye.